G'day. We're in the process of planning for a trip in the distant future, and now's a good time to think about dust reduction. Our van's 2009. It's pretty good as far as dust getting in, and we've done a few things that have helped. So it's not a terrible problem for us, but still we do get a little bit in, and we're looking at how we can prevent that now in the upcoming trip, which is likely to be on some dusty roads. We have chosen the Carafan. One of the issues with the Carafan and other fans is fitting it into the van, and this one I can get into the ceiling. It's powered, it's reasonably low profiled, and I think this one's going to work for us. So now is about measuring, is about making sure it fits, and not putting the hole in the wrong place, because they're hard to move. Well, here's our first option. This is at the back of the van, and we've got aluminium roof rafters that we need to avoid. And one of the things with aluminium, when it's cold and we're in the van, condensation tends to show where the rafters are. So I've got a pretty good idea where they are. I know there's one through about here and another one here, which are too close together. This is the trim from the Carafan, so that's not going to fit here. But I think I could get it back here. Now the reason I think that is because in our bathroom there's a exhaust fan, and that's about the right size hole, and that's going to be between two rafters. And so one option here. The issue here is power. There's not a lot available nearby, but I do have some fairly heavy power sources in a couple of cupboards nearby. It probably means I'm going to have to run some exposed ducting, unless I can get through a couple of cable pathways that are already in the roof. That's possible, but if all else fails, I could put it exposed, at least inside the cupboards. It certainly would be sufficiently large enough cable size for the fan, but I'll show you what my problem is. And the other thing is, they don't recommend the rear of the van if possible. If you have a look at videos of caravans travelling on dusty roads, the way that the air pressure works at the back of the van, it actually pulls dust towards the back of the van. And I've seen some videos which are quite interesting. Even the components on the roof attract the dust up off the road from around the back of the van. So I thought, yeah, okay, it's a possible option, but maybe not the best one. They recommend the front because that's the cleaner air, so probably going to go towards the front, but I'll show you some other issues that I've got with the rear of the van. Well, I think you can see the problem. I've made a cardboard template that I can use to try and determine a good place to locate the Carafan, but in the case of the rear of the van, our TV antenna is right in the way. I could move the antenna, I could take it off, I could change it for a different one, I could rotate it a little so that it isn't in the way, but with all the things against it, this is not a great location, so I'm going to put it elsewhere. The second location is on the roof next to the Four Seasons vent. There's some issues with this. I think one, it would be too close to the Four Seasons and then potentially prevent the flaps from opening up. It's far enough away from the back of the van, I don't think dust is going to be an issue, but most importantly, it's going to be in the way if we wanted to add some more solar panels. Just looking at option 2, yeah, I think it'll be a tight fit, as you can see, and I reckon on the outside the Carafan is probably going to be in the way of the Four Seasons vent little door opening, so we're not going to go in option number 2 either. That takes us to option number 3. Now you can see that I've taken out the internal section of the fan and checked out the cables. The fuse from the manufacturer is 15 amps. The Carafan is fused at 10 amps. So I'm pretty comfortable that the power supply is enough. Whether or not I can get the cables across to that, I'm pretty confident I can. I've drilled a small hole that you can see there, and I've used a long piece of wire and poked it in there to see if there's any unforeseen obstructions. Pretty confident there aren't any. It lines up with the outside very nicely, and I think for us that's probably the best place to put it. So this is at the front of the van, on the section of the roof that's sloping forwards a bit. Next to it in the centre there we've got our skylight and ceiling fan. So that's a good sign, because that has got the same size hole and separation of those roof rafters that we need. The issue for me here was the location as far as power goes. Now I'm pretty comfortable with the size of the cabling run into that existing fan, so I'm going to tap into that. The other thing is the solar panels that are on the roof. Now I've chosen to try and line up one edge, so just for appearance wise, that means inside the van it's not going to be quite centered, but I think it'll look pretty good, and it seems to fit. All in all, I think this is probably a great place for it, and I have seen some other vans, and I was lucky enough that a Kedron owner who'd had one fitted sent some photos, and they'd put it in the same place, so that's a really good sign. Okay, I think I've marked out where I'm going to put it. I've found the center point. I've allowed for the two roof rails, which are 360 apart. According to here, I can see them in here and here. I've marked out as a 360 cutout. Now 360 cutout is slightly larger than the shroud, but it's well and truly smaller than the overall shroud, which is 405. So at 360 there's quite a bit of spare. That'll give me the ability to maneuver it around just a little. There's a few things that are of concern to me. The holes in the Carafan itself that fit down from the roof side into the steel frame are 425 mil apart. Now I think I can still capture that steel work in the roof. Pretty confident that I'll be okay. So I think that's alright. I've gone centre of that. The trim for the exhaust fan is slightly bigger than the trim for the Carafan, so I've tried to allow for that so it'll line up nicely. I think I'm ready to cut. bit nervous about that, but I think I'm right. I've allowed for the edge of the Carafan on the roof side to be in line with the solar panel, which was about 250mm roughly from the body of the fan, the exhaust fan. So that should line up, and I've got a bit of manoeuvrability, so I think I'll get 10mm one way or the other, so that should be fine. Apart from that, we're good to go. Now I guess you're wondering why I chose this side. Well, I had a choice. Could be either side really, but I took one for the team. This is my side of the bed. If it gets any cold air or condensation drips off, I guess I'll look after that. The other reason, and probably the main reason, was it's on the passenger side of the Caravan, so I'm thinking in most cases it's probably less dust. Certainly if I've got vehicles travelling the opposite direction on the road, it's going to be in a cleaner part of the air. Oh, how did I go? Not bad. Not bad. Happy with that. Hey! Well, I wasn't expecting that. So there's a bit of ply or up there. It doesn't feel very thick. I don't reckon it'll be too hard to get out, but didn't know that was there. Well, there we go. One hole. Okay folks, back installing the Carafan again. I still haven't cut the hole in the roof. I'm trying to work a couple of things out. And I've got the Carafan here now, and it's upside down. I just want to show you a few things and a bit of a complication that has arisen with this install, and I'll have a look at it. I think it's probably going to be reasonably easy to fix. However, I've got some choices to make, and I don't know, we'll see which one works out the best. So I've marked up that tape to the dimensions of the cutout. So this is where the cutout would be, and where the the cutout would be here. This is the edge of the inside flange. This section is the steelwork in the roof where the rafters are. The little hole is lined up with these mounting holes, and same the other end. Now my dilemma is the height. And when you look at this surface which sits on the roof, this side is on the inside of the van, and that distance is about 46 millimeters. So when we go inside the van, you'll see what my issue is. Here we are inside, and as you can see, we've got the roof, layer of ply, our aluminium roof rafter. Now the distance between the roof and the fascia here, as you can see, is more than the thickness of my roof. Now when that's screwed down, of course that's going to shrink and push the fascia of the caravan below the trim. Now that might not be a problem. I reckon I've got about 6 millimeters to deal with. Now I'm thinking I might put some aluminium angle in between the aluminium rafter and that plywood, which will space that up a little bit. It might not accommodate the whole of that 6 mil, but there's plenty of movement there. Now keeping in mind these roofs aren't screwed down, they're quite loose. Now there's some fixtures through the centre here, so that part of there is a bit tight, but they're designed to be able to flex and move with changing in temperature and expansion and contraction. Okay, so I've got some 50 by 25 aluminium angle, 3 millimeter thick, and the rafters in here are 50 mil by 30, 32 maybe, so that will sit on there nicely. The plan is to slide that over there. I might pop a couple of rivets excellent. I am quite impressed with the way this van is built. Whilst the insulation is only polystyrene, it's been cut neatly and fits well. Well, we're at that point. Time to cut the hole. Wish me luck. One hole. Well, I'm just about ready to drop it in the hole. I've cleaned the roof with wax and grease remover. I've tapped the 6 mounting holes so I can use stainless steel metal thread bolts into the aluminium channel to avoid corrosion, and I've got some closed cell sealing foam around the internal edge. I'll put silicone around the outside, and I'm just about to drop it in and bolt it up, and hopefully that'll be it for tonight. Morning folks. We had rain overnight, so a really good test of the sealant. We had a win, there's no leaks, which is excellent news. The fan is sitting really neatly in, it's flushed, I'm really happy with the way it's turned out. Left to do is connect the wires, get some power to it, and also to trim the shroud and get that fitted up neatly. So that's my job for today. This has been a bit of a job. I'm not rushing it. I've got plenty of time up my sleeve, and so far really happy with the way it's going. Just up having a look to see how it turned out after last night's effort. You can see it's been raining, and there's some fair bit of water sitting there, which is pretty normal, and it's looking really good. Really happy with the way that's turned out. Well, this is what we've got in the wiring. The white conductors are coming from the fuse as the positive. Interestingly, it's changing to black, which is American, I would imagine. The black ones are the earth, or the negative. I've tested that. I'm thinking I might change things here a little bit. You can see where I've got the Carafan cable coming in. This is the original wiring for the maxi fan, and that was tucked and jammed up in the around there, which is tight. So I'm thinking I might bring the original cables up into the fan and take them around here. It does get a little bit tight over here, but I think I can manage that. The other thing we've got here is, I don't know if you can see that, a little micro switch. Now that's on a spring, a bit like a light switch on your door in an old car. So when you open the lid, it allows it to switch on, and when you close the lid it turns it off. So that's quite a simple thing there. I've got the cables ready. I've modified this, I've moved them across a little bit and joined them and split them into two, coming out with spade terminals or fast on connectors, so I can easily unplug them, because if I need to pull the maxi fan out, I didn't want it a solid connection. I've trimmed down the shroud, and I've got a little notch out there for the cable. Let's see if it fits. Some final thoughts on the installation of the Carafan. Would I do it again? Yeah, I would. Was it difficult? No, not really. I'm sure it would be a lot quicker for a professional, but I'd never done one before, and I didn't have that experience. We had done a lot of research before buying it, so I was confident that it was going to fit. We did have the option of putting it in the center of the van to replace the maxi fan, but we didn't want to lose the maxi fan because we like to open the vent for fresh air. So on the side was a better option. It also makes it easier to access the screws from the outside to remove the lid to replace the filter. So very happy with the way it's gone. Just looking forward now to using it and going on some dusty roads and see if it works.